Infrastructure delivery and trade execution are firmly in focus. They become key drivers of growth, investment confidence, and even industrial competitiveness. Now, after years of constrained growth, these levers are shaping where capital is probably going, how resilient supply chains can actually be, and even how quickly industry can renew itself. For more on what's changed through 2025 and why 2026 could mark a turning point, we're joined by Thiago Almeida, the Divisional Executive for Client Coverage at Nedbank, as well as Niron Rampersad, the Divisional Executive for Trade at Nedbank, both in CIB, that's Corporate and Investment Banking. Gentlemen, thank you. Appreciate the time. Is 26 really going to be better than 25?
I think so.
Yeah?
Definitely. I think what's changed, we've seen that the lens in which we approach these projects has improved. We're looking at these projects more holistically. From a Nedbank CIB perspective, we are not just thinking about this project being bankable from a term perspective, but we're looking at the entire ecosystem.
Sure.
And I think that's what's changing. You're seeing that there's more investor appetite and these projects are becoming more bankable because we are looking at both the term, the short term. We are looking at the liquidity needs of a client. We're looking at currency exposure. So the solutions are becoming much more holistic. And we're also looking at it, like I said, the lens is changing, which means it's more attractive to investors and to banks.
Yeah, Thiago, how much does it help that you have a government that has said we're going to be investing in infrastructure quite significantly over the long term? Because then you tell the story to say that, one, you have a government that is committed to this, and then you can play a part as well.
Look, we're very excited about 2026, but we are optimistic. We are always optimistic, and we're driving the sector very hard. Infrastructure takes a long time to develop, and I think that's most people don't understand what it takes to actually get these projects to ground, actually break ground, and generate the jobs and the growth in the economy that we need. But what we're seeing is that government is sending all the right signals, and it's very difficult in the context that we live in for that to happen and for all these stars to align.
Sure.
So policymakers being clear around the reforms that are needed, being honest with the nation around and themselves. And there is still a lot of pull and push between SOEs and government on what is doable and what is not. But we're seeing that slowly come through. And for 2026, I mean, we've been working very hard since last year to make sure that 2026 is a good year.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting there. But what we're seeing is this alignment raise expectations and raise the energy from investors coming to South Africa, and local investors as well, in making sure that this happens.
Where does that energy come from? Where does the upbeat nature of all of this all of a sudden come from?
So investors are very cautious and are to commit to what it is that they're going to do. So everyone's reading the room. We're reading the room from what government is saying. We're reading the room about what the markets are saying. We're reading the geopolitical context that we're inserted in. And when these things start coming and over again with the right message, then and projects start happening, which is what we're seeing now, then investors get confident and are interested in looking to the country.
I was speaking a little bit earlier, Niron, to the MEC for Finance in Gauteng. That is Lebogang Maile, and he made the example of how things are shifting. You know, if you look at load shedding, we no longer have that anymore in the country, etc. And I said to him, but it took 10 years, right? And that's the big problem, is that's the issue with infrastructure, is it can take up to 10 years, as you've said, Thiago. Is that what we're bound to see now? Because yes, there's the bankability, yes, there's the ecosystem, yes, there's the positivity, but it's going to take some time, if not 10 years, for people to see any kind of difference.
Yeah, I think that's a point well made. And I think if you look at it, investors are cautious generally.
Yeah.
They're looking for confidence, and predictability builds that confidence. So I think what we need to do as South Africa is make sure that we continue investing in these projects. It is going to take time, as we know. The infrastructure plan talks to 2050, and there's significant investment that's needed, not just physical, but also on the digital side. So I think if we are going to be build a South Africa that can compete globally from a trade and investment perspective, we need to make sure that we can move goods and people seamlessly. And that comes with a lot of investment. And unfortunately, you're correct, it does take time.
Yeah, the digital side, what did you mean on that front?
So if you think about the energy requirements that we need, infrastructure, everyone thinks about infrastructure being brick and mortar, but there's also a lot of digital requirements. If you think about AI, machine learning, the investment that's required, the data centers that's required for us to be able to compete in every industry right now, whether it be banking, engineering, infrastructure, AI is taking up a lot of energy needs, and that digital infrastructure is required in SA and across Africa.
Can I come in there for a
Sure,
second?
please.
I think that Niron said a very important word, compete. And I think a lot of this is about being competitive, not just in the global sense, but even in the local sense with our neighbors in the continent. And you're speaking about the last 10 years of load shedding, and exactly that's what's happened. We lost competitiveness. You know, our industries have held back investments. We've seen mass migration of intellectual capacity.
Yeah.
We've seen projects fail, and we've seen an economy that's been stale. So that infrastructure is very linked to competitiveness, and that's what we need to be driving, and that's what we know that's going to generate growth. It's the higher logistics costs and the slow delivery and all the other issues, the weaker exports that are hurting us right now. And the moment we get the momentum going, we'll see that changing.
Here's a tough question. Again, and it goes back to something we've had even on the show. The front page of the Citizen newspaper says we need 1.5 trillion rand in order to fix our towns. How much do we need? Is it really that big? It's tough from your end because, yes, it's different coverage slightly, but is that the scale of operations we really need to have over a longer period of time, over 10, 15 odd years, in order to maybe get ourselves back to, and we're going to say 2010 because that was somewhat of a height for us. Is that the scale of finances we need? Thiago? I don't know. Guys,
I'm happy to take. I can tell you the number is ginormous. Okay, wow. We're talking about trillions. But we're not talking about trillions overnight. We're not talking about trillions just on water and sanitation on our ports or on our roads or airports. We're talking about money that has to trickle through. But it has to be done in the right form. It has to be done against strong projects that really move the dial. You can't do everything overnight. We've been not investing properly for a decade, more than a decade, right? Yeah. So the number is on the trillions, but we need to break it down. We need to break it down and understand how much of it needs to be spent where and what this actually means. Right now, we're coming from a very low base, and that's the reality of it. So any 1 trillion that we spend, or half of that, if it's well spent, is going to make a very meaningful difference to the country.
And just to add to Thiago, Infrastructure South Africa talks about a $5.7 trillion investment requirement by 2050. Now, that's a big number. Yeah. So, as Thiago mentioned, it's ginormous. It comes with a big challenge for us. So, there's other constraints that we also need to think about, which is this access to financing is important, but also the cost of financing is a big challenge as well. We need to think about the supply chains and how to make our supply chains more secure and more resilient. And I think we also need to think about the competition, because there's also import competition that's coming into South Africa, which challenges the local market. Yeah,
and I think you're seeing that with so many parts of our country that are losing so many facets. I mean, we've been speaking about just the Tongaat Hewlett situation out of KZN, where if you take away the competition from cheap imports, you then help our own industry, but you might kill competition overall. We're a country that doesn't stray away from plans. We've had numerous plans. It's the execution thereof. Is that where you come in terms of ensuring that the right strategy is in place, the right plans and ideals are actually put in place here to ensure that the structure comes out right? Because you'll have a great plan put in place, and then it could get derailed by so many other aspects, including politicking.
Yes, definitely. I think the challenge lies in the execution. Yeah. And I think that's always been the case. And where we've provided skills as Nedbank CIB, where we think we've made a difference is in making these projects more bankable. And it comes from, to your point, is looking at the entire ecosystem, understanding our clients' needs, understanding the business cycles of our clients, right down to the nuts and bolts of how they operate. And by doing this, we are able to provide a solution across various different spectrums that gives investors more confidence and also makes banks want to fund these projects. So I think that's where we provide the expertise and the skills from a Nedbank CIB perspective.
Just quickly talk to me about the PPC Western Cape plant. An important reference point, I think that might be.
Absolutely. That's what happens when you get two great teams put together, right?
Yeah.
PPC, Nedbank. I mean, it's an incredible project for us. But I think for the country is the most amazing investment to have. We're going to have, once this plant's constructed, the greenest, most efficient cement plant in the continent.
Wow.
I mean, there's none that looks as good as this. That's going to be as efficient, and and we're talking about a sector that's very hard to abate from a carbon perspective. So when we see a move where the country is having discussions around, can we move away from coal? Can we decarbonize? What does that mean? There's a rhetoric around from developing economies, including South Africa, saying, no, it's important that we decarbonize, but look at what Europe and the northern world and the western world has done and how much they've polluted. But I think this project shows that it's not that simple, that we know how to do it. It's about breaking away the barriers, making a plan and sticking to it.
Yeah.
And I think it's around having minds that can come together to deliver. So this project is going to enable cheaper cement to come to the market at a higher quality, at a lower cost of carbon emissions to the country, which is amazing.
So when do I bring you guys back on to give us an update? Because we want deliverables on the show. We want answers. We want to see where this has all come from. Niron, when do we bring you back on?
Good question. Hopefully not in 10 years.
I certainly hope not.
But soon. I think we are so excited about it. We have a strategic theme, infrastructure, around infrastructure. So I think time will tell. Hopefully in the next few months, we will give you an update in terms of not just the PPC project and how it's going, but also other wins and other clients that we've managed to support in the sector. So,
yeah. Thiago, your most exciting thing for the next, maybe let's say 18 months?
Well, there's a lot that we're working on at the moment. I think that the projects that we're seeing, and they're going to unlock value, not just for Nedbank and for our clients, but for the economy, are incredible. These projects take a long time to arrive, but when they do, they come with a bang. And that's what we're seeing right now.
Public-private partnerships, those happening a lot, I can imagine, at this stage too.
yes.
There are a lot of conversations around private sector participation. I think the private partner, the PPPs, as they're called, has a specific framework, but there's definitely a good conversation with government around the role that the private sector plays in the delivery of infrastructure, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, I think very important, because that's what government has certainly been harping on about, and hopefully that means that this kind of thing is what we're going to see give rise to that kind of growth, and 2026 hopefully being the year we turn that around.
Absolutely.
Gentlemen, thank you. Really appreciate it.
Real pleasure.
A really clear message there that we could actually find a way to turn things around. Thiago Almeida, the Divisional Executive for Client Coverage at Nedbank CIB, and Niron Rampersad, the Divisional Executive for Trade at Nedbank CIB.